Welcome back to Flow Festival Day 3. Why I am so passionate about flow, why this topic is really coming from the depth of my soul, and how you can create a habit of more flow in your life so your life seems more magical with every day that happens. I know that's a big promise. I know that almost sounds a bit vague or a bit woohoo. It's actually it's practical. Remember, I am working with people who are dealing with a lot of pressure, who are celebrating a lot of successes in their lives, who are leading teams, who are being watched by a massive audience. And what I call flow is bringing them back to accessing their resources, to being in tune with who they truly are, so they can actually work from that inner source rather than from all these filtered beliefs and what society and their conditioning and the press and God knows what tells them what they are allowed to do and what they can do. And that is quite magical to watch. Why am I so passionate about flow itself? Is because all major decisions in my life are actually based on flow. Everything I do today happened because I trusted an impulse in the middle of the night of booking a course that I knew nothing about. And that is the basis of everything I do today. Even landing a speaking part in a James Bond movie called SPECTRE kind of just happened out of flow and getting out of my own way. Reacting, not getting into the fear. And if I remember how those separate steps actually came about, me creating a course for successful auditions, trying to understand the stress that young performers go through, or all performers go through when they're in a casting situation, and then me being sent an invite to something called Bond 24. I had no idea what that was. I actually was more excited about a speaking gig I had at that time, and then suddenly I realized I was actually going in for a James Bond movie and just being completely myself. Against everything I've ever learned, I behaved very poorly in that casting, but I landed that part in the end, and that was pure flow. My whole performance career actually is based on flow, because when I was 16, I already started the training for a German job center. I was supposed to be sitting in an office, ticking boxes, filling out forms, and become a clerk, I think you call it in English. And then the impulse hit. I saw something on television. I was already dancing, and something in me became so clear that I had to start a performance career, that I was born to be a dancer. And I followed that impulse. I mean, back then there was really no question. But against all common sense, I quit a training. These were the 80s, where if you actually had a job to learn, if somebody actually took you on, you wouldn't let that go. But I did anyway, and everything was just pointing towards that way. I was following my highest excitement. I was following the breadcrumbs that life was leaving for me in order to do what I was meant to do. And when we're in that space, as I always say, true magic happens. So one question a friend of mine sent through. She was following this whole flow work, and she said, Guido, could you describe just in a few simple sentences what flow really means to you? Because I know what I teach is slightly different than how flow is usually perceived. And I replied like this, and I'm going to read this off. For me, flow is listen to the impulse of your inner guidance and then take inspired action. Now, the key is, in that process, you need to learn what is true intention, what is true inner wisdom, what is your guidance, and what is the voice of conditioned beliefs, of your fears, of your limitations that you believe you have. And so you get the impulse, you take inspired action, and you have to continuously release what is trying to pull you back. We spoke about Dr. Monkey before, who's just trying to keep you safe. If you haven't watched that, if you haven't seen that, go back to day 1, where we actually speak about how these intentions come about, and day 2, why we are sabotaging ourselves and how we are pulling ourselves back. And that is in the end what I do with all my work. That is in the end what I also do with Flow Club or with my courses or with my one-on-one clients. I don't help them to get more into flow. That is the result of it. I actually help them to stop taking themselves out of flow. And in turn, of course, they are more in flow. They are more expanding from a place of who they truly are. I want to repeat that again. I'm not helping them to get more in flow. I'm helping them to stop taking themselves out of flow. I'm helping them to stop sabotaging themselves, seeing themselves smaller than what they really are. Because so often we think lesser of ourselves than what we truly are. And if we unhook those hooks, we can really just fly. I always see it like that old, you probably heard me say this before, we had these old styrofoam airplanes when I was a kid. You know, we got them at the gas station, you put them together, they had a little hook underneath and a rubber band, and you pulled them. And when you let them go and the rubber got off the hook, they just flew. They knew where they needed to fly. We just needed to get the tension on and then release the hook, and they would go. And that is what flow is really for me. Because your inner guidance knows where you need to go, and everything else is just the crap that we have learned that's been put on top to keep us safe. So, for instance, when I work with a pro footballer, I know nothing about football. I don't know what to teach him about football. Literally, you know, maybe kick the ball once or twice and then hit the own goal in my life. So that's not what I do. But what I do know is I understand the high achieving mindset. And I understand when someone is operating within their talents and their potential, and when someone is holding themselves out of their potential. And we all do it. This is part of being human. We are being programmed to keep ourselves safe. It's just another way of saying we are being programmed to hold ourselves back because it ensures our survival, really. And I remember actually working with an athlete that had an outstanding talent. We are talking world champion. And so he knew what he was doing. And of course, still, there was a lot of stress in his career. And then there was the pressure that was there from advisors, from management, from the club he was playing for, pressure from the press, pressure from his audience. I mean, everybody has an opinion and puts it out there, especially today in, you know, with the internet. And so in all of that pressure on top that he now tried to work for, as many of us do when we, you know, when the pressure gets higher and higher, we try to navigate and make everybody happy. That seems to be important for us. The problem is that also lands on all those conditioned beliefs and fears and the stuff that's been running before, and just kicks off a lot of old behavior. Now, in that case, I remember it was almost like reconnecting that athlete back to the 14-year-old that was just joyously playing his sports. Not thinking about agents, not thinking about the press, not thinking about making points, literally just getting back to kicking out of joy. And the results were incredible. He played a completely different game. He was accessing his resources in a completely different way. Or he now was accessing his resources again without filtering them. Does that mean no training, no more structure, no framework for him? One might think that that is what flow is. I had this conversation this morning. But it's absolutely not. It means to be able to use both. Flow can actually guide us towards the right framework, the right training. Flow can tell us that structure, that discipline doesn't work for you. That one you really have to implement, even though it goes against everything your body wants to do. So flow and framework really go hand in hand together. Flow and a structure and a discipline go hand in hand together. It's just very often we get stuck in a framework that doesn't suit us anymore. And so this flow work for me is not I meditate myself towards my goals. It's actually quite the opposite. And don't get me wrong, I love meditating. I love getting into that state of receiving, because that is the receiving mode. In that receiving mode, in that meditative state, I now get the impulse. I formulate my intention of where I want to go, but then the next step has to happen. And that is take inspired action. And that is what so many people miss. Either people are doing just the action bit and they are working within their framework and their discipline, and they're just doing that, and they're completely cut off from themselves, from their inner knowing, or they are completely in that meditative world, in that state, they're flowing, they're visualizing, but they're not used to actually taking action, and nothing ever happens. Progress only happens when we combine the both. Flow, impulse, inspiration, then take action. And we have to get into action. But if we combine those two, powerful stuff happens. I mean, I wouldn't be teaching the people or coaching these people I coach. I wouldn't be teaching mastermind courses and forgiveness courses. All of that is just out of an impulse, out of a crazy idea, but then actually sitting down, getting my ass on the chair and taking the steps. And is that easy? No, not really. But it's joyful. It's simple in a way. There's always a difference between simple and easy. It is guided by joy, and when you do something that you love, you just keep doing it. And that's the difference than pushing against something because someone told you you have to take those certain steps. So how do we actually integrate more flow? Let me just get my notes up a little bit. As I said, in the first session, we learned how you can receive an impulse and how that can take you beyond your goals, because your goals are usually limited by your own beliefs and your fears and who you think you are and how much you deserve. And you create intention out of those impulses. And in session number 2, we spoke about the monkey, the demons, the self-sabotages that then pop up and pull you back. So we need to have all of that. We need to keep that in mind when we want to create a habit of flow, to make it a daily routine, to make it normal for you, to make it a habit, really. So step 1 is practice to listen to your inner wisdom, Practice to listen to your inner wisdom, to your impulses, and start small by them. Learn the difference between what is the voice of fear, what is the voice of conditioned beliefs, and what is my true inner guidance. We all have it. Some might hear it, some might just feel it, some might know it, some might know it, some might even see visuals. But we all get a sense of what's right and what's wrong for us. The problem is we are not used to follow, and therefore we have to practice that. And I always say when I get people into this, don't start with the big stuff that's really weighing on your heart. Don't take the first step in, shall I leave my partner, or shall I sell my house, or should I sell my life insurance? Don't do the big stuff straight away. Start small. Day 1, take 30 days of listening to your inner guidance. What shirt shall I wear today? What color do I put on? And then follow, even if it feels wrong. And sometimes you will get it wrong. Sometimes you will put on some cargo pants on the hottest day of the year. Sometimes that might actually be exactly be what you need because of the pockets or something. But this is about practicing what is right, and when I follow, how does it feel? What was voice of fear? What was the voice of true intuition? Ask yourself, on what traffic light do I cross the intersection? What time do I leave today? What corner do I turn to work today? Start with the little things. what do I have for dinner today? And then follow the impulse, not what you're used to. We have to go against what we used to. Step 2, watch your inner dialogue. And this is vital. What pops up when Mr. Monkey here starts chatting? Oh, you shouldn't be doing this. Oh, this is stupid. You've been doing this now for 3 days and you tried it twice already and it's just not happening. Who do you think you are? This is silly. You've tried this before. What now? You want to write a book? Blah, blah, blah. Watch that inner dialogue or monologue. Question if it's true and find evidence for what you want to be true. For instance, I often tell the story about the very first workshop I taught in London when someone found a belief he had that was all successful people are liars. That was a belief it resonated with him. He said, yes, that is deeply in me. So the question was, is this true? He said, yeah, I believe it's true. Can you find evidence for the opposite? Because you want to be successful and you are clearly not a liar. You want to be a good person. So what is the evidence of maybe a good person? So back then I said, maybe you can think of, maybe you like Oprah. She seems to be a very good person and she seems to be very successful. Maybe you know people in your life that have integrity and that are successful. So look for the evidence of what you want to be true, because what we usually do is we look for the evidence of what's hard, why we are not worth it, for instance. So practice listening to your intuition, watch the inner dialogue, and that dialogue, write it down, write your thoughts about this down, write the evidence you want to look for down. Step 3, then create the intent, dive into the intent with the what if question. Start dreaming, really. So you had the impulse, let's say, I should do more dance classes. I'll get to that later. Or I should move my body more. I should do something for my health. And then the monkey comes up, no, you shouldn't, it's too late anyway, your body is too old or whatever. Just watch that and then try looking for the evidence. No, I know other people who are in their 40s, in their 50s, and they got fit and they are healthy and they like working out their bodies. And so, get into a good framework, or frame of mind is what I was looking for. Step 3, what if I actually find a routine that works for me so I can take care of my body and my health? That is a very strong intention, and the what if question now opens the door for you. Dive in what you have. I want to be strong. I want to be healthy. I want to be at core with myself. I want to be of clear body, mind, and soul, whatever that means to you. It's your intention. It's your goal. Now things are getting into motion and the steps will mingle, will weave into each other, because surely he will get up again and will try to pull you back because that seems safe. Step 4, then take inspired action. You might suddenly have this idea of doing a yoga class. I've never done yoga in my life. Why should I be doing yoga? That can't be right. I can't bend. I can't stretch. Or maybe it tells you to take a flamenco class. Or maybe it tells you to join a gym. There might be very different things. Or maybe it tells you to just go walking, do Nordic walking. It's going to be your impulse. It's going to be your intuition. It's going to be your ideas. But then follow those. I remember I was still in London. I was going through a hard time. I just moved in with a friend of mine, and my intention was one morning, I need more fun in my life again. It's been quite heavy. And as I was meditating, I kept hearing this voice, go to ballet class. And as you may know, I used to be a ballet dancer when I was younger, a professional ballet dancer. But I was sitting there, I hadn't done a dance class, especially ballet, in 6 years. And I was like, yeah, right, me going to dance class. And in this meditation, the voice, the impulse was, go to dance class. No, I'm not going to go to dance class. Go to dance class. Now I know well enough if the impulse is that strong, if it keeps coming back, and that was very strong, and within 5 or 10 minutes, I just packed my bag and went to a modern ballet class in the middle of London. Had the best time of my life, and it actually delivered step 5, and that is it raised my vibration. So step 5 is watch your vibration. Do what makes you feel good, because when you feel good or better than before, you are more in a receiving mode. Nothing is more important than that you feel good, because when you are in that better vibration, and it's not that you jump from despair and frustration and depression into excitement and joy and love. Always just reach for the next level up of where you are right now. And you can do that by following those impulses. Take inspired action. Do that dance class. Go Nordic walking. Watch bloopers of your favorite TV show. Whatever gets you up to the next step. And then repeat. So the process is you find a block. So that is the flow process of what, how you can make flow more of a habit. But what that actually does in our lives, and what my work does, is we find, usually we hit a wall, we find a block, we see how we're sabotaging ourselves. That comes through that step 2 of watching our inner dialogue, and we go, well, actually, I think I really have a problem with my body, or with accepting abundance, or with accepting love, or being joyful. Okay, I found a block. Release the block and you move forward. You expand into a more joyful self. From that new space, guaranteed you will find a new block, something else that might be holding you back. And it's not a matter of, oh, what else is there that's holding me back, that's releasing me. No, it's, oh, I'm expanding even more. Oh, and there's something tight. Let's let go of that. It's just a change of perspective, but it's so important. So find a block, be aware of a block, release the block, move forward, and then find the next block, release it, move forward, rinse and repeat. Because what other choice do we have? We stay stuck on the first block, we never move, and that is when people feel stuck for years and they feel they're holding back. And that is partly why I created Flow Club, because it will speed up that process for you. Well, for all of us, it even speeds up my process, because it will shine a light. Every month we shine a light of one specific small area of our life. Let it be self-love. Let it be, how do I set boundaries? Let it be, how do I stay in my own energy when everybody around me is very negative? Let it be money. Let it be receiving the good that is in my life. So there's, we shine a light on one specific niche, on one specific area. We explore if there's anything holding you back, how you can release that block, and how you can move forward from there. So it's not that you have to find those blocks yourself, which we do anyway. It's not actually focusing on what's bad in your life, quite the opposite. It's helping you to expand continuously into this joyous flow, to use some very big words. And that creates a habit of flow, and that makes life truly magical. I do experience times where I slip out of that. Of course I do as well. But most of my time, most of my life nowadays, I do spend in the, oh, what's the idea? What's the impulse? I follow. There's excitement. There's growth. And sometimes even very annoying to the people around me. Do you always have to be that happy? Yes, because I know what that does for me. So tomorrow, if you like, I would like to tell you more about Flow Club International. That's Flow Club in English, that is launching next week. And I'm so happy about this. So if you want to find out more about Flow Club, join me tomorrow, same time. And Make sure you sign up to the email list. You can get all these replays. They are in a nice edited version because, of course, on Facebook, they are, sometimes a little bit jarry, and there's the whole beginning bit of people coming in. So make sure you go to guidoszymanski.com, sign up to my newsletter. It's the top box. You get the replays, and hopefully I will see you in Flow Club. It is guaranteed gentler and simpler and different from what you expect it to be. So hopefully I see you tomorrow. Please leave your comments and your questions in the comment box below, and I see you later.